kumusta ang tanan? A pleasant morning to each and everyone. We are the Group 3, and for today, we are going to present to you this encyclical letter entitled 𝐵𝚛𝚘𝚘𝚞𝚎. Please give me the authority to present to you our group members. As what I have said earlier, we are the Group 3, and I am with Miss Maricor Bolanoy and Miss Yvette Ental for our PPT making, and yours truly, Sheena Marie B. Pokita and Miss Giselle Torregosa as your reporters. And of course, for our video editing, we have Miss Mariah Juris Mantuya and Miss 𝐁𝐥𝐵𝚕𝚒. So we now have here our content. We are going to talk about first its title and where this title came from. Then we would also delve deeper on its English translation. Second one, we are going to talk about the author of this encyclical letter and a little biography of this author. Then in the third part, we are going to talk about the history and the content of this encyclical letter. So now, join us in having this very meaningful discussion. 𝐵𝚛𝚘𝚘𝚞𝚎 is an encyclical letter that is written in Spanish, although this title is Italian. 𝐵𝚛𝚘𝚘𝚞𝚎 means all brothers and sisters, and it is taken from the admonitions of Saint Francis the Assisi. Where does this title came from? Have this thought came into your mind? So the answer is 𝐵𝚛𝚘𝚘𝚞𝚎 is an expression of Saint Francis of Assisi that can be found in Admonition 6:1. The saint used the expression to propose a way of life marked by the flavor of the gospel. Saint Francis invites all men and women to love that transcends the barrier of geography and distance. So now, let's talk about what this encyclical letter is. This encyclical letter is the third encyclical of Pope Francis after Lumen Fidei and Laudato Si. The document was first announced on 5th of September 2020, and it was signed on October 3, 2020 in Assisi, Italy. This was released on October 4th of 2020 on the feast of Saint Francis of Assisi. Let us try to go deeper on who really is Saint Francis de Assisi. Saint Francis was born in Assisi in the late 12th century. He is the patron saint of ecology. Saint Francis is most known for finding God in poverty and simplicity, in contemplation and in work, as well as in a natural environment, seeking friendship with all God's creatures. He is often depicted surrounded by birds and wild animals, wearing the coarse woolen tunic worn by the poor peasants of his native Umbria. As the Pope puts it in 𝐵𝚛𝚘𝚘𝚞𝚎, wherever he went, he sowed weeds and peas and walked alongside the poor, the abandoned, the infirm, and the outcast, the least of his brothers and his sisters. So now, let us try to go deeper on the author of this encyclical letter. Who really is Saint Francis de Assisi? Saint Francis was born in Assisi in the 12th century. He is the patron saint of ecology. Saint Francis is most known for finding God in poverty and simplicity, in contemplation and in work, as well as in the natural environment, seeking friendship with all God's creatures. He is often depicted surrounded by birds and wild animals, wearing the coarse woolen tunic worn by the poor peasants of his native Umbria. As the Pope puts in 𝐵𝚛𝚘𝚘𝚞𝚎, wherever he went, he sowed weeds of peace and walked alongside the poor, the abandoned, the infirm, and the outcast, the least of his brothers and
Good day everyone, I am 𝐁𝐥𝐨𝐜𝐤. So for my part, I will be reporting about the history and the content of fraternity. So on what it was based, questions about fraternity and social friendship that have concerned the Pope in recent years. Themes put forward in the document of human fraternity for world peace and living together, which the Pope signed jointly with the Grand Imam Ahmad al-Tayyib in February 2019. Next, what does it propose? So first, it is a social encyclical dedicated to fraternity and social friendship. Second, it treats the universal dimension of the doctrine of fraternal love. Third, its aims is to put forth a new version of fraternity and social friendship. And lastly, it encourages us to dream a single human family and as a fellow travelers sharing the same flesh. To whom it is addressed? It addresses to all people on goodwill, brothers and sisters, all those living on this planet, to draw attention to the common home in which we live. Next, how is the encyclical organized? The encyclical is basically broken down into 10 parts, an introduction, 8 chapters, and then 2 prayers at the end. One to the Creator and another ecumenical prayer to the God Trinity. The structure of the encyclical, so there will be an introduction, pages 1 to 8. Then chapter 1, the title Dark Clouds or a Closed World, pages 9 to 55. So this chapter will be described by many as rather gloomy and pessimistic. It gives a razor-sharp analysis of the current worldview and a partial destruction of the view of being able to grow towards a greater unification on a global level. Chapter 2, titled A Stranger on the Road, pages 56 to 86. So, for this chapter, Pope Francis analyzes the parable of the Good Samaritan as a contemplative orientation in order to develop a path of true social love and solidarity. The third chapter, titled Envisaging and Engendering an Open World, pages 87 to 127. This third chapter makes a plea to grow towards an open world where there is a room for all. Human beings are created to live together with others, even more so, to enter into a relationship with every neighbor that is marked by love. The chapter 4, titled A Heart Open to the Whole World, pages 128 to 153. The fourth chapter of the encyclical Fraternity dwells on the theme of openness to the whole world, in contrast to the closeness dealt with in the third chapter. The text presents two major themes: the encounter among people and the tension between local and global. Chapter 5, titled A Better Kind of Politics, pages 154 to 197. This chapter deals with another growing problem that we are facing all over the world: social tendencies where populism and growing liberalism are emerging and which are having a profound effect on politics. Chapter 6, titled Dialogue and Friendship in Society, pages 198 to 224. This chapter focuses on the importance of dialogue in pursuit of the common good. Chapter 7, titled Paths of the New Encounter, pages 225 to 270. In Chapter 7 of the encyclical, Pope Francis writes of the need for a new encounter and the restoration of peace in societies throughout the world. Chapter 8, titled Religions at the Service of Fraternity in Our World, pages 271 to 287. This last chapter reflects on the role of religions for fraternal coexistence. It notes that the foundation of just relations between human beings can only be transcendent truth that grounds their inalienable dignity and full identity. And for the last part of the structure of encyclical will be a prayer to the Creator and an ecumenical Christian prayer. So what are the key messages in this encyclical? So first, strangers are neighbors. Pope Francis invites us to consider each fellow human being as a neighbor, someone to be encountered and loved for their own sake despite physical or cultural differences. Second, difference should not be feared. Differences in race, social status, ethnicity, gender, and political thought should not be feared. Pope Francis imagines a love capable of transcending borders and a commitment to serving the vulnerable, the poor, the disabled, the elderly, and the pregnant. Third, politics requires listening. Listening is essential to engender dignity in politics. He promotes concepts of encounter, love, and social friendship. Lastly, everything is connected. He points to the work of those on the front line during the pandemic and how they understand that no one is safe alone. He invites us to dream together and to have hope for a future of greater peace, love, and justice. So that will be the end of our reporting. Thank you for listening.